NASCAR's biggest year ever is about to commence. 15 years of racing history have been rewritten, where we've seen all new stars rise, new places to race, and now all new racing series. And the lead up to NASCAR's biggest event ever, an all-star race unlike any other during the Atlanta Olympic Games. Welcome to Sunday Night Lights 1996. A historic year is in store. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Sunday Night Lights as the story continues today with the 1996 season. We left off with some major storylines from the mid-90s, including Jeff Gordon's first years in the Winston Cup and having a female Busch Series champion as well as a female Daytona 500 winner. Now we head into the second half of the 1990s as NASCAR continues to grow in popularity. This is set to become NASCAR's biggest season yet. Strap in, because a lot is about to unfold and there is racing history to be made. We start off with the inaugural season of the Kodak IMSA Stock GT Series, the first of three new national series, a road course series that caters to drivers with knowledge on these kinds of tracks, but also a stepping stone to help develop experience inside a stock car. Here's the 8-race schedule for 1996. It's a simple 8-race schedule that starts the season off at the Daytona Road Course and then ends out west at Sears Point in California. Since this is a new series, I'll briefly walk you through most of the team and driver lineup and do the same with the other new series. We'll start out with some of the major NASCAR teams that invested into the IMSA Stock GT Series. The first being a two-car team in Sapco Racing, fielding the 42 of Willie T. Ribbs, as well as a young 26-year-old driver named Jerry Nadeau. Roger Penske was also a big supporter of the new series, as he is also fielding two cars, with 29-year-old Tommy Kendall, sponsored by Kodak, as well as the legendary Emerson Fittipaldi. He will drive all 8 races in the number 22 Mobil 1 Ford. A few other notable NASCAR teams entered in this series include SS Motorsports, that's the team co-owned by Lake Speed and Terry Schoonover. They field the 85, driven by Bill Lester. There's also Jack Roush's team. Of course, Roush being very familiar with the sports car game, he enters a team with the number 6, driven by Jeff Brabham. And lastly, there's Kranifuss Haas Racing fielding an entry as well, with Robbie Gordon behind the wheel of the number 37 DuPont Ford. The 27-year-old will also run in kart as well as the IMSA Stock GT Series. AJ Foyt also has a team entered, as Butch Letzinger will be their main driver in the number 14, but AJ himself will also run a few part-time races, as well as Scott Sharp. Team Menard also has an entry, another open-wheel team, with Scott Brayton behind the wheel of the Menards Ford. There's also Pac West Racing with Darren Brassfield behind the wheel of the number 17 Visa Chevrolet. Then you have All-American Racers, with PJ Jones driving the number 98, sponsored by Castrol. There's also Team Scandia, with its single entry being driven by Ron Fellows. After struggling in the Cup Series for a while, John Andretti will be driving the number 64 for Project Indy. Mark Simo has also put together a 3-car team, with Mark and his brother Brian driving a couple of the cars, as well as Boris Said driving the number 4, sponsored by Cellular One. There's also Dorsey Schroeder driving for the Dyson Racing team, as well as Jeff Krosnov, who does not have his fatal incident in kart. In terms of full-timers, Cat Teasdale will be driving the series full-time, as well as Jocko Majakomo. He will drive the full season in the number 63 for his own team. And now, let's get into some of the highlights for the inaugural season of the Kodak IMSA Stock GT Series. As previously mentioned, we start the season off at Daytona as Sapco Racing's Jerry Nadeau started on the pole with Darren Brasfield alongside him as the inaugural IMSA Stock GT season is underway. Oh, and we got trouble already. Dorsey Schroeder slaps the guardrail and gets tapped by Willie T. Ribbs in the 42. Majankamo and a couple more slam in. No caution, it looks like, and everyone keeps going. As they come back around, Jerry Nadeau leads the first lap in series history, but Tommy Kendall is second and is gaining on Nadeau. Jerry Nadeau leads 9 laps in with Kendall second, Jeff Brabham third, Robbie Gordon fourth, and Darren Brasfield in fifth. Now coming to lap 10 begins the first round of green flag pit stops. A clean race so far after that lap 1 incident. Green flag pit stops happen again around lap 19, and there are talks of this race becoming a fuel strategy kind of race, as Nadeau and Gordon pit, but Kendall and Bill Lester stay up an extra lap. Could this benefit Tommy Kendall and Bill Lester? Coming to lap 25, Nadeau and Gordon race each other to the entrance of pit road. They are pitting now because they know they won't be able to make it on fuel. However, everyone else stays out. The caution came out with 3 laps to go as Tommy Kendall was scored the leader with Bill Lester in second. Race officials were not able to get the race back going underway in time, and therefore the race ends under caution, and Tommy Kendall, driving for Roger Penske, will take home the win at Daytona. We head next to Sebring as Darren Brasfield and Tommy Kendall lead the field to the green flag at Sebring. And as they come back to complete lap 1, Darren Brasfield leads the way. After a round of green flag pit stops on lap 9, the race got much more interesting when Tommy Kendall got side by side with Brasfield to eventually take the lead. And once Tommy Kendall took the lead, he did not look back as Tommy Kendall dominates and wins back-to-back races to start off the inaugural season of the IMSA Stock GT Series. As for the next race at Portland, Brasfield was back in the hunt again as he and Jerry Nadeau battled in the closing laps, but it was Darren Brasfield who held on to get the win at Portland. The 5th race of the season at Montreal was a wild one, as right before the green flag dropped, PJ Jones was coming down with mechanical issues and had to go down pit road. As they were coming to take the green, he crossed in front of Cat Teasdale, causing the green flag to be waved off. A very bizarre situation to start off the race at Montreal. Here we go, take 2 on the restart, as we have no issues, and here we go, we are underway at Montreal. Tommy Kendall is wasting no time and goes 3 wide for the lead. This is very risky. Who's going to have the advantage? Oh no! Brassfield gets into Gordon, he gets sandwiched, and Kendall spins. We got a pile up here on lap 1. Bill Lester with heavy damage. Jeff Krosnoff involved. Oh my goodness. And we're definitely going to have to take a look at that replay. And let's go on board now with Brassfield 3 wide. And again, this is very risky. Kendall was really trying to push it between he, Gordon, and Brassfield. Just getting sandwiched, and yeah, it just did not end well for some of these guys. Krosnoff running into Brassfield. On board now with Bill Lester. Heavy damage to the front of that number 85 car. Man, he got hit quite a few times. Man, early wreck here, especially for a couple of the championship contenders here at Montreal. After that, Robbie Gordon led for the first half of the race until green flag pit stops around lap 11. However, the one that was out in front first was rather unexpected. Bill Lester was able to find himself with a 15-second lead. Thanks to pitting on early enough, he was able to take the lead with a damaged race car. The caution came out coming to the white flag as John Andretti got into Giacomo coming down pit road and slammed into the tire barriers. He was very lucky in this situation as he would walk away from the car fine. This would give the win to Bill Lester as he wins at Montreal without a front bumper to his car. The remainder of the season came down to one driver as Tommy Kendall came to life in the final 2 races and showed that he was always the favorite, winning at Heartland Park and then at Sonoma to capture the inaugural Kodak IMSA Stock GT Series Championship for Penske Racing. As Tommy Kendall takes home the championship, I'll go ahead and show you the top 10 in standings as well as all the winners from the 1996 IMSA Stock GT Series season. And with all that taken care of, let's head next to the inaugural season of the DuPont Super Sportsman Series. The DuPont Super Sportsman Series is primarily a grassroots series with a few major tracks where it gives off a vibe between ARCA and a late model touring series. The schedule also lands a lot of former standalone Busch Series tracks such as Louisville and Indiana, as the Busch Series begins to become more compatible with the Cup Series schedule. With that being said, here's a look at the schedule for the 1996 DuPont Super Sportsman Series season. As you see, some notable tracks including the season starting at Walt Disney World and going to some grassroots tracks such as Flemington, Oswego, IRP, Myrtle Beach, and of course, as I mentioned, Indiana. Taking a look at the Super Sportsman Series for its inaugural season, here are some of the notable drivers and teams to look out for. Dale Earnhardt Incorporated has a couple of entries, both of which are Dale Earnhardt's sons. Kerry Earnhardt driving the number 8 AC Delco Chevrolet, and his younger brother, Dale Earnhardt Jr., driving the number 3 white GM Goodwrench Chevrolet. Richard Childress also has an entry with Mike Skinner in the 31. Petty Enterprises is fielding the 43 of Rich Bickle. Bobby Allison Racing is fielding the 12 of David Bonnet, who is of course the son of Neil Bonnet. JD McDuffie is going to race in this series for the full season. Nice to see him back out here. Jeff Purvis will drive the 09 for Phoenix Racing. Roger Penske has an entry with a young 20-year-old driver named Blaze Alexander. He'll drive the number 2 Mobil 1 Ford. And Elliott Melling Racing will field the 94 of Ron Barfield Jr. Joe Nemechek has also entered a team sponsored by Burger King and being driven by his younger brother, John Nemechek. John Nemechek has already been listed as one of the favorites for the championship. Other entries include the 00 of Buckshot Jones, the 85 of Shane Hall, the 24 of Rick Baldwin, the 88 of Pete Orr, the 48 of Randy Porter, the 57 of Russell Phillips, the 0 of Andy Houston, the 4 of Max Presswood, the 5 of Brett Sontag. Diamond Ridge Motorsports has an entry being sponsored by WCW, and Elliott Sadler, the younger brother of Hermie Sadler, he'll be in the 29. Doug Diderot will drive the 18. Andy Kirby is in the 77. Chad Chaffin is driving a team entered by Bobby Hamilton himself, the number 40 Pontiac. Bill Bigley Jr. has an entry in the 16. Toby Porter is driving for Ranier Walsh Racing in the 28. And other full-time entries include Bobby Gearhart, Stanton Barrett, Ashton Lewis, Curtis Markham, and Robbie Crouch. And some notable part-time entries in the series, including Joe Gibbs Racing with JD Gibbs in the 17, Reiser Racing with the car being split by Robbie Reiser, and a young 24-year-old from Wisconsin named Matt Kenseth. James Lasordi has an entry with legendary modified driver Ted Christopher. And lastly, one of the greatest of all time, Richard Petty, will run 2 races in the series as he knows he doesn't have many years left of his racing career. He will give this series a go while running a handful of Cup races. The inaugural race of the Super Sportsman Series took place at the newly built Walt Disney World Speedway in Florida, and the race featured a 38-car field as Mike Skinner and John Nemechek led the field to the green flag for the inaugural season of the DuPont Super Sportsman Series. Mike Skinner, another driver who's a favorite for the championship, gets out to a big lead as we see David Bonnet jump up to second. John Nemechek is hung to dry on the outside, and he's under pressure from Blaze Alexander and Rich Bickle. Five laps in as Skinner continues to lead as we have trouble in the back of the field. Russell Phillips into the wall as he was hooked by the 6 of Robbie Crouch, and that is going to bring out the first caution in Super Sportsman Series history. After the restart, David Bonnet put pressure on Mike Skinner as he went to the outside to try and take the lead. And just a lap later, he does, and David Bonnet takes the lead. Halfway through this race, 30 laps in, as David Bonnet has been leading for a while, but he has caught lap traffic. It was smooth sailing the rest of the way, however, as David Bonnet, the son of Neil Bonnet, will go on to win the first ever DuPont Super Sportsman Series race at Walt Disney World. Certainly a special moment for David Bonnet, and one he will remember for a long time to come. With 3 laps to go at the second race at Rockingham, it was a battle between Blaise Alexander, Robbie Reiser, and Kerry Earnhardt. Reiser battled side by side with Blaise Alexander, and he would eventually take the lead, and not only that, he would take the checkered flag to win. And despite that he's sharing this ride with Matt Kenseth, it can only mean good momentum for his team moving forward. However, in the very next race at Bristol on lap 56 during the first green flag pit stops, Robbie Reiser's luck didn't go as great as the last race, as he was exiting pit road and got into the 80 of Ashton Lewis to bring out the first caution of the race. After that, it was Andy Houston going on to win at Bristol. With 35 laps left in the race at Louisiana, Rich Bickle had been leading for a majority of the race. But that was until Dale Earnhardt Jr. took advantage of Bickle being held up by the lapped car of Ron Barfield Jr. And another junior, Dale Jr., would take the lead. A caution then came out with 4 laps to go that caused the race to end under caution, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. would go on to win at Louisiana. A late wreck would end the race under caution at Nazareth as Andy Kirby got into Curtis Markham, sending him spinning, and with nowhere to go, Rich Bickle slams into Kirby, causing both of their days to be done. Both drivers were okay after this wreck. The 10th race of the season was a wild one at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Toby Porter led a good amount of laps. He, Mike Skinner, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. were battling for the lead. But after a caution came out, Porter got swallowed by the field as Skinner and Dale Jr. pulled away. The leaders ended up pitting with 5 laps to go, and Mike Skinner got held up for a moment on pit road, giving up the lead to Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Dale Earnhardt Jr. would pick up another win at Charlotte. Moving on to 2 races later at Louisville, the 2 biggest breakout stars of the season were definitely Dale Earnhardt Jr. and John Nemechek. 2 next-generation drivers battling for the inaugural Super Sportsman Series championship. Both of them showed why they were worthy of it, as they had a great battle for the win at Louisville Motor Speedway. The younger brother of the 1993 Daytona 500 champion, John Nemechek, would pass Dale Jr. in the closing laps, and he would hang on for the win in front of a sold-out crowd in the Derby City. We had an upset winner in the 16th race of the season at Martinsville, as Ted Christopher, a driver from the modified circuit, held off Mike Skinner to get the win, and he would get himself a grandfather clock. How about the win from Ted Christopher? And just a race later at North Wilkesboro, David Bonnet was on his way to earning his 2nd win of the season. But with 5 laps to go, one of the newcomers in the field, Matt Kenseth, who has been sharing this ride with Robbie Reiser, made the pass for the lead, and he would go on to get the win, giving Kenseth plenty of buzz. Perhaps he is also part of the future, as he's ran very well all season in his select Super Sportsman starts. I'm pretty confident we'll be seeing a full-time run from him next season. And in the final race of the season at the Nashville Fairgrounds, Blaise Alexander's car was a little battered up, but that didn't slow him down from gaining his first win of the season and only win. But the bigger picture was on one of the sons of Dale Earnhardt, as Dale Earnhardt Jr. would go on and score the inaugural DuPont Super Sportsman Series Championship. Dale Earnhardt Jr. your Super Sportsman Series champion for 1996. And here's a look at your final top 10 in standings, as well as the list of winners from the inaugural DuPont Super Sportsman Series season. And now let's move on to the inaugural season of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. The Ford F-150, the Chevy Silverado, and the Dodge Ram, three of America's biggest and baddest pickup trucks, now racing in its own series in NASCAR. The Craftsman Truck Series leans into a more diverse schedule with many races out west, some intermediate tracks, some road courses, and even a trio of dirt races at Knoxville, Devil's Bowl, and Springfield. On top of that, the Truck Series will also have one street course race as they join the bill for Karts Weekend in Vancouver. And once again, just like the other two new series, I will go through the driver lineup for the Truck Series. Some notable teams that have entries in this series include Hendrick Motorsports, with Jack Sprague driving the number 25, sponsored by Tide, Scott Lagasse driving the number 51, and a third truck they are fielding for part-time drivers, mainly for Tim Richmond and Roger Mears. Jeff Bodine moves down to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series and tries to give himself a new life in his career. He starts up a program with two trucks, with him driving the number 70, sponsored by QVC, as well as the 07 of Dave Resendez, also sponsored by QVC. Ernie Irvan also has a team with Mark Simo in a 3-truck program. Joe Ruttman drives the number 84, sponsored by Coca-Cola. Brian Refner is driving the number 44 truck. And 24-year-old Paige Jones, the son of the famous Parnelli Jones, moves from the Dirt Series and makes the move up to the ranks of NASCAR. Is Paige Jones a possible future prospect in the sport? Bill Davis Racing also has an entry with the number 1 truck of Ricky Johnson, as well as Dale Earnhardt Incorporated with the 16 of Ron Hornaday. Some more notable entries include the 6 of Rick Corelli, the 98 of Liberty Racing's Butch Miller, the 75 of Bill Sedgwick driving for Spears Motorsports. You also have Ultra Motorsports with the number 2 of Mike Bliss, as well as part-time driver Butch Gilliland. Dirt legend Sammy Swindell is also in a truck for Atkins Sutton Motorsports, and there's also Bob Keselowski driving the number 29 in one of the few Dodge entries in the field. Another young hopeful driver is Chris Trickle, the young nephew of Dick Trickle, driving for the Star Nursery Racing team. A lot of eyes will be on this young man for sure. A couple of older drivers making the move down to the Truck Series to try and revitalize their careers include Dennis Setzer of Bruco Motorsports and Ted Musgrave driving the 18 Pennzoil truck. Tony Roper is driving for MB Motorsports with sponsorship through WCW's New World Order faction. Terry Cook in the 88 for Seal Master Racing. The NFL coach turned racing driver Jerry Glanville will attempt to run full-time in his own team. There's also the 83 of Steve Portenga, the 20 of Walker Evans, the 52 of Toby Butler, Mark Gibson in the 15 for Billy Ballou Motorsports, the 63 of Frog Hall, the 49 of Roger Mears Jr., the 21 of Doug George, the 31 of Bob Breivik, the 30 of Jimmy Hensley, and the 90 of a young driver named Lance Norick. I did mention Butch Gilliland as one of the notable part-timers. Some more notable ones include Cindy Peterson, driving for Darrell Waltrip Motorsports for a few races, as well as Robin Gordon, driving for Michael Waltrip's team. Robin is the younger sister to Robbie Gordon. Roush Racing has brought in a new prospect in 26-year-old Greg Biffle to drive a few races, and Liberty Racing has brought in another driver, also coming from the dirt ranks, in Kenny Irwin Jr. There will also be a few dirt specialists running those 3 races, including Donnie Beechler, Leland McSpadden, and Scott Bloomquist. And now let's get on to some of the highlights from the inaugural Truck Series season. The inaugural race of the Craftsman Truck Series was a clean race and dominated by Jeff Bodine. Not only that, he would go on to lead every lap in the race, as he would go on to win the season opener at Phoenix. Tim Richmond finished second, and Ricky Johnson of Bill Davis Racing finished third. Cindy Peterson also finished ninth, an impressive performance in the select races that she will be doing this season. Speaking of Geoff Bodine, he started fourth in the next race at Evergreen, but it only took 4 laps for him to pick up where he left off from Phoenix. However, he met some competition on the 33rd lap as Brian Refner took the lead. It was another clean race with no cautions as Refner went out to a 4-second lead to pick up the win for Irvin Simo Racing. Another notable driver from this race was Mike Hurlburt. He started 34th in this race and in just 30 laps worked his way up to 11th and would go on to finish 6th in what surprised many fans and many people in the garage area. Jimmy Hensley was leading towards the end of the race at Riverside, but in the closing laps, he was being chased down by Ricky Johnson. And on the final lap, Johnson manages to get around Hensley for the lead, and the off-road racer wins on the asphalt in the California desert. Ricky Johnson wins his home race on what was almost a last lap pass. I wonder if this will influence a certain other Johnson who races off-road trucks who comes from the same exact town. We had big problems on lap 3 at race 6 at Texas World as Bob Keselowski and Lance Nord tangle against the wall on the backstretch and a bunch of trucks spin behind them. Trickle, Mears, the points leader Bodine, and Musgrave all involved, plus light contact from others in this big wreck on the backstretch at Texas World. However, when all the smoke settled, it was Mike Bliss getting his first career win in the Truck Series. Bliss had to hold off Paige Jones and Dave Resendez for the win in the closing laps. And while I just brought up Chris Trickle, let's talk about him. As mentioned earlier, Chris Trickle is the younger nephew of Dick Trickle, and he had an impressive rookie season in 1996 as he picked up 2 wins on the season, both on dirt at Knoxville and Devil's Bowl. He also showed great speed and looks to build off of that going into 1997. Could Chris Trickle be a potential top prospect in NASCAR? With 6 laps to go at Michigan, Jerry Glanville in the 81 had his great day end on the side of Sammy Swindell, and he spins in front of the pack from 5th into Musgrave's front end. He hits Butch Miller, and thankfully, the wreck didn't get bigger than that. Many racers, including Glanville himself, got very lucky. Because of that, however, we got a yellow that would set up for a 2-lap sprint to the finish. Out front was Lance Norick, and behind him were Hornaday, Swindell, Paige Jones, and Terry Cook. The youngster would have to hold off some of the series' best to get the big win. However, after the restart, Lance Norick ran out of fuel and couldn't make it to the finish, so he had to pit, and then the race came down to Ron Hornaday and Sammy Swindell as the two battled side by side down the backstretch on the final lap. Bob Keselowski also had a charge, but he was going to come up short as Sammy Swindell, the dirt legend, hung on for the win at Michigan. In the 13th race of the season at Mesa Marin Speedway, a caution came out with 8 laps to go when Dave Resendez spun off of Mike Bliss. This set up for a 3-lap dash to the finish, but it was all Paige Jones as he added on to his consistent season, picking up his first win in the Craftsman Truck Series. Jones was looking in great shape to contend for the championship, and a lot of fans had their eyes on the son of Parnelli Jones. And just a race later at Portland Speedway, not to be confused with the road course, Geoff Bodine led for much of the race. But that changed as Doug George was having a good day in second, and then with 20 laps to go, Doug George challenges Geoff Bodine for the lead, and he takes it. George was looking to surprise the racing world, and Doug George was able to hold off Geoff Bodine, a multi-time winner this season, to score the upset win at Portland. What a huge moment for him. Heading into the final race of the season at Texas World Speedway, Geoff Bodine held a 3-point lead over Paige Jones, and the season concluded with an exciting championship battle. As Ron Hornaday Jr. took the checkered flag to conclude the season, Paige Jones finished 13th, and Geoff Bodine finished right behind him in 14th. The inaugural Craftsman Truck Series Championship ended in a tiebreaker, and that means that with a total of 3 wins compared to Paige Jones's 1 win, Geoff Bodine is your inaugural NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion. Wow, what a way to finish off the season, and what an incredible resurgence and turnaround for Geoff Bodine. A great driver, a decorated driver in the sport, finally back on his feet, and now a champion in NASCAR. After that thrilling championship finish to the season, here's a look at your final top 10 in standings and all the winners from the 1996 Craftsman Truck Series season. Before we get to the NASCAR Busch Series and the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, let's take a brief moment to talk about what happened in 1996's running of IROC. Here is the driver lineup for the 1996 IROC season. At the first race at Daytona, Casey Elliott was leading all the way to the final lap, but Alan Kulwicki was able to peek to his inside going into turns 3 and 4. Kulwicki battled the young Elliott to the checkered flag as Kulwicki edged out Casey Elliott for the win to start off the 4-race season. And from there, the NASCAR drivers dominated the IROC season as Tim Richmond won at Darlington, and Rusty Wallace, the back-to-back champion of the Cup Series, then went on to score the win at Talladega. Going into the final race at Michigan, Rusty Wallace and Alan Kulwicki were tied for the points lead, and Tim Richmond was 1 point back. However, Rusty Wallace was able to hold off a charging Tim Richmond at Michigan to win the race and claim the 1996 IROC Championship. And here's how it all went down in IROC for 1996. Your final standings and the winners of all 4 races. And with that, let's move on to the 1996 NASCAR Busch Series season. Here are some notable changes in the Busch Series for 1996. Tim Feudua moves over to Labonte Motorsports. Reminder that Terry Labonte now is with Joe Gibbs Racing, and his team is now affiliated with them. Feudua brings in KFC as his sponsor for 1996. One of the bigger stories involves Kelly Earnhardt, as she will finally be running full-time in the Busch Series for 1996 as she is finishing up college. Her and Jeff Green will be teammates this season. Dale Jarrett starts up his team again for 1996 and will run the Busch Series full-time after a bad stint with Joe Gibbs Racing last season. Randy LaJoie moves into Terry Labonte's 44 team as David Green moves to the Cup Series. Tony Stewart, a young driver competing in the IndyCar Series for Team Menard, will be running a part-time schedule with Rainier Walsh Racing. Bobby Hamilton is still driving in the Busch Series for Sabco Racing. Casey Elliott, the defending Busch Series champion, is going to continue running in the Busch Series for Bill Elliott. Brett Bodine moves down to the Busch Series to drive for Philmar Racing, and Tammy Jo Kirk continues to race for Roush Racing in the number 60 Ford. And before we get to the highlights, here's what the schedule looks like for the 1996 NASCAR Busch Series. We had a wreck in the season opener at Daytona. Tim Futua got loose, but something else happened up ahead. Glenn Allen Jr. loses control, and this causes a major pileup. Rodney Combs, Ken Schrader, Randy LaJoie, and several others get involved to bring out the first and what would end up being the only caution at Daytona. Jeremy Mayfield, Hut Strickland, Mark Martin, a few others involved in this wreck as well. But that wasn't all of it. Another bizarre wreck happened up ahead. Ken Schrader was trying to get off the track and Mayfield trying to get on. Hut Strickland collides into them. Not only that, Mark Martin sends Strickland flipping, and Glenn Allen Jr. finishes the job. A very bizarre wreck there at Daytona. And we are now down to just 3 laps to go here at the season opener at Daytona. So the leader right now is Mike Harmon in that 24 machine, as Rick Mast is a lapped car. Brett Bodine is second. Kelly Earnhardt back there as well, but she is a lapped car as well. So right now it is down to Brett Bodine and Mike Harmon as Bodine peeks to the inside, but he's not going to have much drafting help. Perhaps the 61 of Rick Mast could be used as an advantage heading into turns 3 and 4. Off of turn 4 into the start and finish line. Harmon still leads, but he gets to the outside, and that is going to allow for Brett Bodine to go to the inside and take the lead with just 2 laps remaining. Here comes Kelly Earnhardt as well. Again, she is a lapped car. So what is Mike Harmon going to do? Is he going to lose the draft, or does he still have an opportunity to pull off a Cinderella story? On board with Brett Bodine now behind Rick Mast as they come to the white flag. Final lap here at Daytona. Will it be Brett Bodine's day, or will we see a Cinderella story? Daytona changes lives. And look at this. Bodine is on the outside. Kelly Earnhardt's going to get by him. And look at this. Mike Harmon. I can't believe this. Mike Harmon's going to get by Brett Bodine. Mike Harmon to the lead as they're down the backstretch for the final time here at Daytona. Brett Bodine trying all he can. It's not over yet. 2 corners to go. The 2 lap cars in front of him are side by side. He just has to keep that 8 car behind him. Off turn 4 to the checkered flag. Birmingport, Alabama's Mike Harmon is going to win at Daytona. Are you kidding me? Cinderella story. Mike Harmon has done it. And what will this mean for him moving forward? This is a humongous opportunity for him. This is his first ever Busch Series start, by the way, and what a statement to be made. Mike Harmon, your winner here at Daytona. Originally, Mike Harmon was set to only run a handful of races, but thanks to this victory at Daytona, he had enough sponsorship funding to run the entire 1996 season. At the 4th race at Atlanta, it came down to a 2-lap sprint to the finish, as Kevin LePage had a shot at his first win, but had a terrible restart coming to the green. This ends up holding back Kelly Earnhardt, who was up there, as Todd Bodine took the lead. Bodine was challenged by Steve Grissom on the last lap, heading into turns 1 and 2, but he wasn't able to get around Bodine. Casey Elliott then challenged Grissom for second, as Todd Bodine went on to win at Atlanta. Check this out, as a couple of races later at Bristol, on lap 72, Derek Cope went for a wild ride. As the season was nearing summertime, Johnny Benson had a major breakout that spanned across 4 consecutive races. It started with gaining his first career Busch Series win at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and then getting his second win at Dover the next week. After that, he proceeded to finish second in the next 2 races. This gave Benson an opportunity to show himself to the racing world and what he's capable of doing. The question was now simple. Will he keep this up for the rest of the season, or was this a flash in the pan? At the 14th race of the season at Nashville, Chad Little had dominated most of the race, but with 3 laps to go, Joe Nemechek came up on Little quick and took the lead away. Little would drift back to 4th as Joe Nemechek would go on to get the win. At the start of the race at Road America, Mike Wallace hooked Jeremy Mayfield into Kevin LePage, then hooks him again the other way, and Brett Bodine hits Mayfield's side, sending the 95 flipping and slamming the wall and catch fence. A scary wreck for Mayfield to start the race, but he did walk away from the crash. However, he wasn't too pleased with Mike Wallace. Chad Little, who's having a career resurgence this season, would go on to earn his 6th win of the season and his 4th in just 6 races, including this being his 3rd win in a row. In a time where the bigger teams are beginning to take over the Busch Series, Chad Little has been dominating up to this point. Coming to 4 laps to go at New Hampshire, Joe Nemechek was battling side by side with Patty Moyes, who had been dominating all race long. But Nemechek took the lead and never looked back as he went on to get the win. Kelly Earnhardt had a very strong car at IRP, leading for a total of 32 laps. But she was being chased down by a young man from right here in Indianapolis, an IndyCar driver named Tony Stewart, driving for Ranier Walsh Racing. After a round of green flag pit stops, Tim Feudwa got into Tommy Houston coming off pit road that sent them both wrecking to bring out a caution. This put Tony Stewart in the lead and would run away with it on the restart. Thanks to the help of lap traffic, it became his race to lose. White flag now for Tony Stewart, the IndyCar driver running part-time in NASCAR this year, and he's about to pull off a remarkable and special win here at IRP. Perhaps we may see more of this young man, as right in his backyard, in front of his natives, Tony Stewart is going to win at IRP for his first NASCAR victory. Stewart had been putting on decent results in his first NASCAR races, but this one may be the one to have him transition from IndyCar to NASCAR. He has spent a lot of time here, but this would certainly be one of his biggest wins yet. With 27 laps remaining at Bristol, Chad Little, the most dominant driver of the season, was leading, but Bobby Hamilton had a fast car and was hungry for his first win of 1996. However, he had the lapped car of Grant Adcox to get around before getting to Chad Little. Hamilton was able to push Adcox below Little to take the lead in a rather unique way at a track like Bristol. but it wouldn't last long, as Little would take the lead back. However, this would all change with 6 laps to go. Here's Chad Little working past defending champion Casey Elliott. Oh no! Casey Elliott spins Chad Little! The caution is out, and that might end the race. Bobby Hamilton has taken the lead, and I'm sure Chad Little is not happy with Casey Elliott. The defending series champion, Elliott has been struggling this season, and I'm sure he's been very frustrated lately. But still, an unbelievable turn of events here at Bristol. The race would indeed end under caution, with Bobby Hamilton stealing the win. Despite being turned, Chad Little still finished second, but he had a few words with Casey Elliott after the race. Dale Earnhardt won at the Lady in Black in 1989, 1990, and 1994. But in the 22nd race of the season at Darlington, another Earnhardt got to be added to the list of winners at the historic Darlington Raceway, that being Kelly Earnhardt, picking up her first and only win of 1996. While it was one win, it was definitely a special one. Talladega showcased a rather bittersweet victory for a former champion of the series, as Larry Pearson was able to come out with the victory. This marked the 1987 champion's first win in the series since Myrtle Beach in 1994. But still, better late than never, as Larry Pearson picked up the win. The Busch Series Championship was no contest at all, as Chad Little dominated the entire season and claimed the 1996 Busch Series Championship before the final race of the season, driving for former NFL quarterback Mark Rypien. Little earned an amazing 9 wins, 16 top 5s, and 19 top 10s, including sweeping all 4 road course races on the schedule. He won the championship at the end of the season with a 209-point lead over Rick Mast and Tammy Jo Kirk. What an incredible breakout year for Chad Little, and a lot of eyes will be on him moving forward to see if he can keep up this kind of racing. Chad Little, your NASCAR Busch Series champion for 1996. And here's your final top 10 in standings and all the winners from this season. And something I want to note, and I put it on here in the graphic, Casey Elliott, who won the championship a year ago, really struggled in 1996. 16th in the points, very unheard of, and there's a lot of concerns going on in Bill Elliott's camp for sure, and we're going to have to keep an eye on him to see if he improves in 1997. And now it's time to see what all went down in the 1996 NASCAR Winston Cup Series season. To start things off, here's a look at your schedule for the 1996 Cup Series season. One thing to note is that the All-Star race, of course the International All-Star for this season, has been pushed back to July so that it is closer to the Atlanta Olympic Games. Not many changes occurred for 1996, but here's what happened. Rodney Orr gets a full-time opportunity in the Winston Cup as he replaces Geoff Bodine in the number 01 for Precision Products Racing. Excite Batteries comes over to sponsor. Terry Labonte is in the 17 for Joe Gibbs Racing as he took over this ride last season. He is a part owner of the team and hopes to give Coach Gibbs his first win of the season. Robert Presley moves up to the Cup Series with Philmar Racing in the number 81. He will be driving for Rookie of the Year. And so will David Green as he jumps to the number 98 for Cale Yarborough. And lastly, at the age of 50, Neil Bonnet is calling 1996 his final full-time season in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. He's had an amazing career resurgence in recent years, but he's ready to hang up the helmet and move into broadcasting after this season. And there's a couple of drivers with new looks for 1996. including Patty Moyes in the Barbie Pontiac with a different look, and Bubba Nissen changes up his look, still sponsored by Goodies, but finally wanted to change his look after having the same paint scheme for several years. And for the summer portion of the season, Jeff Gordon will drive a special McDonald's Olympic paint scheme, and he will drive it as well in the International All-Star Race. In the closing laps of the 1996 Busch Clash, Clifford Allison had been leading for several laps and doing a good job holding off the likes of Rob Moroso, Jeff Gordon, Neil Bonnet, and three-time Daytona 500 winner Dale Earnhardt. But on the final lap, Bobby Labonte's car came to life and surged his way up to second, then getting to the inside of Clifford Allison to take the lead, and Bobby Labonte would go on to win the Busch Clash for Robert Yates Racing. A promising start for Labonte and his team. And now for the 1996 Daytona 500. Dick Trickle was a notable driver to miss the Daytona 500, but Dave Marcus, who made the race, was willing to have Trickle buy out the ride for the race, since this deal would help him fund his operation for the rest of the season. However, as the sport continues to grow and innovate, the option to buy out a ride may not be possible for much longer. And here we go. All that preparation has come to this moment. Pace car dives down pit road as Robert Presley and Lake Speed lead the field to the green flag, and the 1996 Daytona 500 is underway. Jeff Gordon jumps to second with Darrell Waltrip behind him as the rookie Robert Presley leads lap 1. Three wide for second between Nissen, Loy Allen, and Alan Kowicki as Nissen uses that inside line for second. And he's not done. Bubba Nissen takes the lead from Robert Presley coming to lap 6. Coming to lap 7 now as Nissen is leading. Del McCowart running a one-off here, running in third. But Jeff Gordon takes the lead from Nissen, which moves Del McCowart to second. What a huge moment for him. Loy Allen Jr. makes the move on Jeff Gordon as he takes the lead, but he slides up the track. And now this is going to allow for the lead to be handed back to Robert Presley. Ricky Craven makes the move down the backstretch to take the lead from Presley. Here comes Kyle Petty and now Casey Elliott on the inside, who's running a part-time schedule for Elliott Melling Racing. Kyle Petty to the inside. Casey Elliott was hesitant, but he hooks up with Petty, and Kyle Petty takes the lead. Davey Allison, the 1991 champion, moves past Kyle Petty as his car's been coming to life. Terry Labonte follows him up to second as Joe Gibbs Racing is hoping for a big year. Now Terry Labonte takes the lead from Allison as the two-time champion is out in front for Coach Gibbs. "22 laps in, and Del McCowart so far has spent most of the race in the top 10. And is once again in the top 5 behind Terry Labonte, Ricky Craven, and Terry Schoonemaker. Del McCowart now moves up to third with help from Dick Trickle, who is in Dave Marcus's car. Behind him are the two drivers that put on a show in last year's 500, Shauna Robinson and Dale Earnhardt. Terry Labonte is still leading, but Dick Trickle has a great setup going as he is in second. Eddie Bierschwell, former Daytona 500 winner, he's in third. And chasing his fourth Daytona 500 win is Dale Earnhardt in fourth. Now Earnhardt makes the move on Bierschwell to take third away, and he's looking to reel in Dick Trickle. Earnhardt makes the move into turn 3, and he takes second away from Trickle. Laps are complete in the Daytona 500 as Kyle Petty has come back into the picture now, and he's going to rocket past Dale Earnhardt for second. Now look at this, Earnhardt fights back. You're not going to get rid of that number 3 that easily. Earnhardt back to second. And now look at Kenny Wallace, who won the Brickyard 400 last year, making his way into third. Just past halfway now, Terry Labonte heading down pit road to begin green flag pit stops. He leads a small group as the race has been relatively clean so far. Sterling Marlin and Tim Richmond have beat Labonte off pit road, but we'll have to see what everything looks like after it has all cycled through. Ricky Rudd and Dale Earnhardt running 1-2, but Eddie Bierschwell rejoins, and he's going to hold things up. Jeff Gordon with the same deal, and they will join this pack a lap down as Rudd is able to hold on to the lead. Ricky Rudd came so close in 1984, losing to Dale Earnhardt in a photo finish as he is trying to hold off Davey Allison and Tim Richmond for the lead. Dale Earnhardt also trying to fight back and forth. And now here goes Tim Richmond as he gets past Davey for second, and he is now behind his Hendrick Motorsports teammate. The field approaches the lap car of Steve Seligman, who finished second in his dual race to make the Daytona 500, as this will hold things up for a moment. And now here comes Sterling Marlin to take the lead in that 22 for Junior Johnson. Ricky Rudd has worked his way back up, and he will take the lead from Marlin with a push from Earnhardt. The field has caught the lap car of Ward Burton, and now we're going to see if this shakes up anything. Del McCowart is also ahead, as we saw him running up front with everyone before those pit stops. Ricky Rudd currently has great protection as 3 lapped cars separate him and second place Sterling Marlin. 10 laps to go, and Ricky Rudd is still leading, but look at this. Rob Moroso goes to the inside, and Sterling Marlin takes advantage of it. Marlin looking to take the lead from Rudd, and with the advantage of that inside line, he will do so. Here comes Tim Richmond to the inside of Sterling Marlin. Will this be Tim Richmond's day? Six laps to go, down the backstretch. Here comes Dale Earnhardt. He takes the lead from Tim Richmond, going into turns 3 and 4 as we head back to the line for 5 laps left in the Daytona 500. Now Ricky Rudd has a shot and goes to Earnhardt's inside. And now he's going to take the lead. This is going to get intense. Coming to 3 laps to go, and Tim Richmond has his teammate Ricky Rudd in his sights. Davey Allison is behind him. At this point, teammate or not, it's every driver for themselves from here on out. Rudd stays behind the lap car of Moroso, but meanwhile, Earnhardt is not done yet. He moves to 3rd. Coming to the line, 2 laps left. Rudd still leading, Richmond still there. Ward Burton, though, passes Earnhardt, and remember, he's a lap down. So that's not going to help Earnhardt's case. Final lap for Ricky Rudd. Rudd and Richmond work together now to get that lap car out of the way so the two Hendrick drivers can fight it out with no obstacle. Will Richmond hold off the field for his teammate, or will he try to win it for himself? Coming off turn 2, and wait a minute, where did Robert Presley come from? He's got a ton of energy now. He makes it 3 wide for second, and he steals it from Richmond. Does Presley have enough to catch Ricky Rudd? As they come back to the start and finish line, he will not. Ricky Rudd is going to win the Daytona 500. 12 years after coming up close in a photo finish to Dale Earnhardt, and 10 years after Hendrick won their first Great American Race, Ricky Rudd, the 1993 champion, can now say he's a winner of the Daytona 500. What a hot start to the season for a driver looking to get back into title contention. The next week at Rockingham had a wild wreck on a restart when Joe Nemechek's car broke down at the wrong place at the wrong time, causing Lake Speed to run him over, and a massive pileup occurs on the front stretch that sent Lake Speed's car in the air. A scary wreck for Lake Speed, but he was okay afterwards. Certainly a very unusual wreck for a track like Rockingham. Definitely something you don't see every day. Look at that. Wow, the 19 getting sent on his roof as well. Going on board with Wally Dallenbach. Nowhere to go. That's what sent Lake Speed flipping. And just, oh, what a mess. But after all that, at the end of the day, Patty Moyes went on to win at Rockingham. It was a wild race at the Food City 500 in Bristol, but at the end of it, it was Ken Schrader sneaking out with an early win on the season, driving for Junie Donlevy in the 90. This marks Schrader's first win since New Hampshire a season ago. Always special to see a small team like Donlevy get into victory lane. Alan Kulwicki had a good run going as the season was heading into the summer, as he dominated from the pole to win at Sonoma, and then led most of the laps to win at Dover. Ernie Irvan tried to play the fuel mileage game to steal the win, but didn't have enough to get to the finish. However, it wasn't all bad news for Ernie Irvan. On Memorial Day weekend at Charlotte, Mark Martin had been dominating most of the race in the Bud Moore No. 15 Ford, but that was until he went down for a scheduled green flag stop and the caution came out. The caution was for Ken Schrader getting into Mark Thompson, going into turn 3, and collecting Jeff Bodine in the process. The battle at the end was between the present and the future at Richard Childress Racing, between Dale Earnhardt and Rob Moroso. It was a close fight, but in the end, it was young Rob Moroso scoring his first Coca-Cola 600 victory over the 3-time champion. At the first Michigan race, the caution would come out with 5 to go as Shauna Robinson gets into Jeff Gordon, sending the one car spinning, but Terry Labonte couldn't avoid Gordon in time and slams into him on the driver's side, collecting Mark Martin, which then collected Ricky Rudd. Heavy hits to bring out the yellow, and thankfully everyone was okay after the wreck. The race would end under yellow as Ernie Irvan would get his second career Cup Series victory driving for Junior Johnson. This also marked Irvan's first victory since Riverside in 1992. The 16th race at Nashville featured a classic short track battle for the win between two Daytona 500 winners, Shauna Robinson and Ricky Rudd. Robinson chased down Rudd in the closing laps of the race and gave it her all, but Ricky Rudd was able to hold her off to get the win in the Music City. This marked Rudd's second win of 1996. The 1996 Brickyard 400 was an instant classic, as we had a 4-car breakaway that was being very competitive with each other and how each of the 4 carry their own big story. You have Shauna Robinson looking to become the first woman to win at Indy. Davey Allison looking to turn his struggling season around with a win. Jeff Gordon with his roots in the Indy area, and Mark Martin looking to have a resurging season. We take you to the final 5 laps where Shauna Robinson has been leading and is in search of her second career win since winning the 1994 Daytona 500. Five laps to go for Shauna Robinson. Never in its long history have we seen a woman not only lead, but win at Indy. However, she has Jeff Gordon on her tail, and that number 1 McDonald's Ford is chasing her fast. Davey Allison and Mark Martin are behind Gordon, as both of them would love to add Indianapolis to the tracks they have won at. Four to go as Robinson is still holding on. No one is sitting down here at the track. All eyes are on this incredible battle between 2 of stock car racing superstars. Robinson and Gordon winning this race would certainly be huge for NASCAR. As we see Davey Allison, we're on board with him. He peeks to the inside of Gordon, trying to look for that second place position, but he's not going to be able to complete the pass, and he's going to have to fall back in line. Now on board with Gordon as he's still trying to chase down Shauna Robinson. Now with 3 to go as we are single file in a little pack here, and it seems to me that Davey Allison might have a shot at second, which would only benefit Robinson. Here comes Davey. He takes second from Jeff Gordon. Now, does he have anything for Shauna Robinson? It's not over yet. Indianapolis is a big track, and there's plenty of racing left to go. The top 4 roar down the back straightaway, and now into turn 3, it's Robinson, Allison, Gordon, and Martin. Right there in a single file train. Who is going to make the next move? Into turn 4 now and back on to the front stretch. Hundreds of thousands looking on to see who's about to win the Brickyard 400. Now here comes Mark Martin in that number 15 Ford, and he's going to take third from Gordon, the 1990 champion, looking to continue a resurging season with perhaps a major win. Mark Martin's got a chance now, but he doesn't have much time left. It's still a big oval. Still needs to get past Davey Allison if he wants to get to Shauna Robinson. Robinson right now looks to have the best car on the track, but this is racing and anything can happen. Coming back to the start and finish line. White flag for Shauna Robinson. Could we see history here today? Mark Martin goes to the inside of Allison. Martin is going to take second place, but that's only going to slow them up. This is Shauna Robinson's race to lose now. And thanks to this battle, Robinson is pulling away. To those of you watching at home, I hope your eyes are glued to the television set, because you are about to see something historical. Coming off turn 4, she's gonna do it! Shauna Robinson wins at the Brickyard. A female driver has won at Indy. Her second career win, and both wins come at two historical racetracks. The female movement continues on in the world of NASCAR, with becoming the first woman to win the Daytona 500 and the first woman to win at Indy, not to mention she's a Busch Series champion, is Shawna Robinson about to become NASCAR's megastar. A movement like this will only continue to put NASCAR in the national and perhaps international spotlight. Another driver went on to snap a long winless drought at the second Bristol race as Bill Elliott picked up the win and his first win since the Spring Atlanta race in 1993. Late in the season at Charlotte marked the debut of another Earnhardt, that being Kelly Earnhardt, driving the number 14 for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. She qualified 32nd for her debut. On a restart with 5 laps to go, Rusty Wallace was leading with his brother Kenny in second. But Kenny slipped to the outside on the restart, allowing the lap car of Shawna Robinson and third place Ricky Rudd to move up to second. Then with 3 laps to go, Rudd passed Wallace for the lead, and Ricky Rudd would go on to win at Charlotte, making that his 4th win of 1996. Meanwhile, Kelly Earnhardt finished 26th in her Cup debut. History was made again at Talladega as the girls ruled the day. Shawna Robinson led for all but 12 laps at Talladega and would go on to earn her 2nd win of the season and the 3rd of her career. Not only that, we had a female 1-2 finish for the first time in Winston Cup history as Patty Moyes finished 2nd. In the second to last race of the season, it was an intense battle for the win between Terry Schoonover, Rob Moroso, and Kyle Petty. At one point, Moroso and Petty nearly wrecked each other, battling for second, but they did chase down Schoonover once again. However, with 3 laps to go, Rob Moroso had just taken the lead when he and several other leaders had to pit as they were all short on fuel. And Terry Schoonover would pick up his first and only win of 1996 at Phoenix. Rob Moroso ended up in 28th afterwards, while Bubba Nissen finished 3rd. Because Moroso had to pit, this changed the championship picture going into Atlanta. Only 2 drivers had a realistic shot at claiming the Winston Cup, and they were nearly dead even. Bubba Nissen held a single-point lead over Rob Moroso after Moroso's disaster at Phoenix. This championship could be a deciding factor in the future of the sport. You have Rob Moroso, who started in the Cup Series with the family team, but now has been integrated into Richard Childress Racing, with Dick Moroso running the crew and Childress making them a contending team. You also have Bubba Nissen. Nissen's story has been unique, with him breaking out in the Busch Series in the early 80s and later jumping to Cup. And now he has become one of the best drivers today. In an era where multi-car teams are proven to be successful, owner drivers like he and Alan Kulwicki are still running up front. The 1996 Napa 500 at Atlanta was about to mark one of the greatest championship battles in NASCAR history. A few things to note before the race starts. Patty Moyes will lead the field to the green flag. Rob Moroso will start in 8th. Bubba Nissen will start 17th. And in his final start, Neil Bonnet will roll off in 16th. Chad Little will also run in the race as he is preparing a move to Cup next season. A 33 race schedule, and it has all come down to this. Everything will be decided in 115 laps. Who will be the champion, Moroso or Nissen? Here we go. Green flag from Atlanta. And it hasn't taken too long for the lead to change as Jeff Gordon takes the lead after starting third. Into turn 3, and here comes Kyle Petty to the inside of Jeff Gordon. Off of turn 4, Gordon has the advantage, and he continues to lead. But let's see what happens as they go into turn 1. Still side by side, and Gordon is doing a great job with that outside line, still with a slight advantage. And Kyle Petty finally clears the one of Jeff Gordon, and Patty Moyes is running in third as well. Sabco looking to end the season on a strong note. Petty's lead isn't going to last long as Jeff Gordon takes the lead back. Gordon looking like he has the best car here early. And here we go once more. Side by side are Kyle Petty and Jeff Gordon as we are seeing some great racing here early. Gordon's still strong on that outside line, and as we're about 10 laps in, Rob Moroso is in 5th, while Nissen is 11th. A very close points battle as Moroso currently holds the championship lead. All he has to do is finish ahead of Bubba Nissen. Petty clears Gordon now as Rusty Wallace is up to 3rd. The last 2 years he's walked out of here as a champion. Even though it won't be again this year, he wants to finish off 1996 with a win here today. Meanwhile, Jeff Gordon is back at it again. That McDonald's Ford can't be kept down, side by side again. This has been fun to watch in the opening parts of this race as Kyle Petty and Jeff Gordon are putting on a show for the packed crowd here today. Rusty Wallace has broken up the battle between Petty and Gordon as he moves past Gordon to take the lead, while Gordon and Petty fight for 2nd, as well as Joe Nemechek. Meanwhile, Moroso and Nissen are there together, and every position will matter from here on out. A 1-point difference between the championship and heartbreak as Moroso and Nissen are fighting for it with plenty of racing still to go. 30 laps are complete here at Atlanta. Kyle Petty leads as Jeff Gordon dips down to the apron, which means it's time for green flag pit stops. Gordon is the only taker right now, but expect everyone else in within the coming laps. Green flag pit stops have cycled through as it all worked out for Jeff Gordon as he leads with Kyle Petty in 2nd and Joe Nemechek in 3rd. And just like that, Gordon's comfortable lead has vanished as Rusty Wallace moves to the inside of Gordon going into turn 3, and Wallace will take the lead. Looking at our championship battle as Rob Moroso and Bubba Nissen are 5th and 6th. Look how close this is getting. How will things look as they get towards the end of the race? One pass for position could just make all the difference. Moroso battling Kyle Petty for 3rd with Nissen and Jeff Gordon behind him. Moroso's looking like he may have the better car, but still a lot of racing left to go. Wallace has ran away with the lead, but all eyes are on the battle for 2nd as Rob Moroso is trying to put some space between he and Bubba Nissen. Moroso gets around Mark Martin for 2nd, and now Nissen needs to figure out a way around Martin. And it looks like it didn't take long for Bubba Nissen. He moves to the inside of Mark Martin, and now he's going to move to 3rd. Both championship contenders giving it their all. Here we go, next round of green flag pit stops as Rob Moroso and Mark Martin head towards pit road. Rob Moroso's feeling very good about his car. Great setup coming into this weekend. As we see, he's trying to get into his stall. Ricky Craven holds him up. Moroso has to almost come to a stop just to get to his pit stall. Hopefully that doesn't cost him too much time. 66 laps are complete. Wallace looks to have the lead once pit stops cycle through, and trouble, turn 3. Dale Earnhardt was trying to get back up to speed, and Shawna Robinson gets into him in turn 3. Caution is out. A 2-car incident as Earnhardt has a little more damage than Robinson. Things stay where they are as Rusty Wallace leads, Rob Moroso is 2nd, Jeff Gordon 3rd, Bubba Nissen 4th, and Terry Schudever, who's won here before, in 5th. And here we go, back up through the gears, green flag. And Rob Moroso going to the inside of Rusty Wallace, and he is going to take the lead. That is huge for him. That is going to be 5 bonus points for him towards the championship. Bubba Nissen is 4th, and it's not over. He needs to get to work if he wants to win this championship. We're in the later stages of this race now, and you couldn't have scripted this any better if this was a movie. The 2 championship contenders running 1-2. Rob Moroso versus Bubba Nissen. It's going to most likely come down to this. Everyone with their eyes on 2 drivers looking for a championship that could change their lives forever. .25 laps to go, and Bubba Nissen peeks to the inside of Moroso. Nissen needs those 5 bonus points, but Moroso is able to hang on as this incredible championship battle continues. This is arguably going to go down as one of the greatest championship battles in Winston Cup history. We are expecting one more round of pit stops, and here we go. Rob Moroso will be one of the first to come down, and he will do so before Nissen does. These pit stops are going to be super crucial, and as I say that, the caution is out. Morgan Shepherd gets into the back of Kyle Petty as Petty's mellow yellow Pontiac is destroyed on the rear side. With Moroso on pit road, how will this shake things up with the timing of this caution? Moroso hurries back out as he re-enters the track, and again we'll have to see where he winds up. The others do have to pit as well, as you see Bubba Nissen down pit road, and now in his stall, no issues at all for him in that 59 Goodies Pontiac. Simple and quick stop for his 59 team, and as I'm saying that, Rob Moroso is still down on the apron. Many fans are keeping their eyes on that number 20 car. This could be a little concerning with him still down there on the apron. The 29 is joining down there with him. The 9 is too. Indeed, Rob Moroso has a problem, and he has to go down pit road. And with that happening, barring an absolute disaster for his competitor, the chances of taking the Winston Cup are slipping right through his hands. Moroso reported that a wheel was not screwed on well enough, and it was so bad that he had to pit with no other option. That's why he was down on the apron around the track as he was trying to nurture it back to pit road. The 20 team was probably trying to hurry up with the timing of the caution, and that caused the mistake. Wow. We had a great championship battle going, and just like that, everything has changed. Coming to the restart, Moroso is a lap down now, and I couldn't begin to imagine the heartbreak that he and his team are facing right now. With that being said, Bubba Nissen is your leader. Wally Dallenbach is second. Eddie Bierschwell third. Darrell Waltrip fourth. And Terry Schoonover fifth as we're back underway with 14 to go. Wally Dallenbach wants to end this rough season on a high note as he's going to work his way past who will most likely be the champion, Bubba Nissen. Wally Dallenbach to the lead. White flag for Wally Dallenbach as he's looking for his second career Winston Cup victory. Bubba Nissen runs in third, and unless anything happens, the championship is his. Dallenbach isn't sure if he will be with this team next season or with someone else, but for now, he's going to head into 1997 with another win on his resume. Coming off turn 4, checker flag waves, and Wally Dallenbach will win at Atlanta, and the number 59 Goodies Pontiac crosses the line in third, and Bubba Nissen is your 1996 Winston Cup Series champion. Rob Moroso may have had the best car all day, but something went wrong there at the end of the race with a loose wheel, and that's got to be one of the worst possible ways to lose the championship. He certainly would have had it if it weren't for the issues he had at the end of the race at Phoenix. And here's a quick look at the final top 10 in standings for the 1996 Winston Cup Series season. This was indeed a special moment for Bubba Nissen, and he was asked about his team's success after winning the championship. He said, quote, "The Morosos and the whole team at Childress worked so hard to get them to this point. I have a lot of respect for them. We have a smaller budget, but even when you're the best driver, you need things to go your way. And this year, they did. I don't know how much longer I can stay competitive with this family team, but we won a Winston Cup. And you can't take that away no matter what the future is for us." Richard Childress also had some comments after the championship race. He said, quote, "Rob and Dick Moroso have been incredible partners for our organization, and now they're beating us at our own game. We're excited to strengthen that relationship next year and beyond. There's been a lot of interest in our organization, and with how much the sport has grown, and we're ready to be the best in the sport. Dale's excited, Rob's excited, and we've got some great things in the works for the rest of our team. We'll be back to take the cup next year." Certainly, what a season this has been. What an incredible championship battle out of multiple series, especially here in the Cup Series, and something special to witness with Bubba Nissen. It just proves, even though we're in an era now where multi-car teams are taking over, the smaller teams could still get it done. But we're not done just yet. We still have one big event left to cover, and that is the 1996 International All-Star Race from Atlanta Motor Speedway. So here is how the International All-Star Race will work. There will be a usual open race where the winner of that race will advance to the All-Star. The driver who finishes in second will advance as well. There will be a separate race for all of the international stars to race in, and the top 3 will advance to the All-Star. A fan vote winner will also be chosen, making it a field of 30 for the big race. The open race will be 40 laps, then the next race, which will be the International Open, will be 60 laps. The International race will be held on Saturday, then the Open and the All-Star will be run on Sunday. The main event will be 75 laps across 3 segments. One notable moment during the normal open race was a wreck on lap 30 during green flag pit stops. Dallenbach got turned by Loy Allen Jr. and Bobby Labonte had nowhere to go. Labonte got into the back of Dallenbach and John Andretti slammed into the back of Labonte with heavy damage. That brought out the caution as, Clifford Allison had to slow down to dodge the 16, and he gets into the back of Rodney Orr as Orr's car gets heavily damaged at the entrance of pit road. On the final lap, Sterling Marlin held off Ricky Craven and Loy Allen Jr. to win the Winston Open, as he and Craven advance to the International All-Star. Next up, we have the International Open, where all 20 international drivers will run in this race, and the top 3 will advance in this 60-lap race. At long last, let's meet the 20 stars of motorsports from around the world as they get set to make history and do battle for big cash prizes and to race with NASCAR's best. Starting on pole is Brazil's Christian Fittipaldi, a star in kart and a former Formula 1 driver driving for Junior Johnson. Alongside him is another driver with oval experience, Jim Richards, a New Zealand native fresh off a championship in Australia's Oval Series at Calder Park. He's driving for Sabco Racing. Row 2, we have 2 Europeans. Ferrari F1 driver Eddie Irvine is in a number 13 for Richard Childress Racing, and Sweden's Kenny Brack drives the Petty Enterprises number 63. He's dominating the F3000 Championship and looks set to be a future star in open-wheel racing, whether in Formula 1 or in the US. Row 3 is home to perhaps the 2 biggest names in the field. Back-to-back Formula 1 champion Michael Schumacher is driving for the Captain Roger Penske, and alongside him is the only driver with NASCAR experience, Mario Andretti. Andretti is fresh off his second-class podium at Le Mans in a row and was invited to compete since he hadn't raced in a stock car in 3 decades. Driving for Bill Davis alongside Jeff Gordon, can the Italian-American put that experience to good use today? In row 4, it's the return of the Labonte 44 with support from Joe Gibbs. Behind the wheel is last year's F3000 champion, Vincenzo Suspiri, currently an F1 test driver and excited to race his competition on an even playing field. On the outside is Austria's Roland Ratzenberger, still in Formula 1, running a bold paint scheme from sponsor MTV, a second car from Kranifuss Haas. Row 5 has a pair of Indy 500 champions. On the outside is Arie Luyendyk, the 1990 winner, and a current IRL driver driving for Robert Yates Racing. Alongside him is last year's Indy 500 winner, Jacques Villeneuve, back in Formula 1 this year, but is excited to return to an oval. He's driving with Team Menard's part-time stock car. On the inside road of row 6 is McLaren F1 driver David Coulthard, in one of 2 extra cars fielded by Hendrick Motorsports, and alongside him is Chile's Eliseo Salazar, fresh off of a 6th place finish in the Indianapolis 500, driving for Roush Racing, who also have a pair of entries. Right behind Salazar is his teammate for the day, F1 veteran Martin Brundle, in the 2nd Roush Racing entry. On his outside is Australian supercar star Glenn Seton, with 30 wins in his young career, driving a 2nd car for Elliott Milling Racing with Ford support. Row 8 features F1 veteran Gerard Berger in an extra car for Bobby Allison, and on the outside, the man you've all been waiting for, Ayrton Senna. Still at Williams F1, his team surprised the racing world by announcing that they would be renting a car to enter themselves for this race, a Sanyo number 18 Chevrolet. Senna is a world champion driver, but his team has some work to do to get him into the big show. Row 9 also features a pair of new teams. French F1 driver Jean Alesi is driving the number 14 for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, a team only running a handful of races for 1996. Alongside him is Japan's Masanori Sakiya, a former champion of both the Japanese Touring Car Championship and the 24 Hours of Le Mans. He's a 2nd driver with a one-off team, Kokusai Kahatsu Racing, the team he won Le Mans with, fielding the car themselves. Finally, on the inside of row 10, in another Penske car, is Yannick Dalmas, a 3-time champion at Le Mans, homegrown in France. Rounding out the field in another Hendrick Motorsports entry is McLaren F1 driver Mika Hakkinen, a native of Finland. 20 of the world's best are gathered to drive race cars that none of them have raced before, and most of them haven't even raced on an oval before. Only 3 will move on to the big show. So which global star will be able to learn the quickest and enter the history books? Christian Fittipaldi and Jim Richards are on the front row as the International Invitational is underway from Atlanta. Here comes Kenny Brack as he gets a push from Eddie Irvine to take the lead. We are just 1/3 of the way through as Kenny Brack continues to lead, but look who is in second. That is indeed Mario Andretti, one of the greatest names in motorsports, and he's in a good spot to make the International All-Star. Check this out now as Mario Andretti is going to go to the inside of Kenny Brack, and they battle side by side for the lead in the International Invitational. Sospiri is behind Andretti in third as they still battle. Andretti still on the inside, and now he clears Kenny Brack for the lead. And now Kenny Brack is back, and he's not done yet. Now he's once again side by side with Mario Andretti. Heading into turn 3, Brack, who is driving for the King Richard Petty, takes the lead back, and now Jim Richards has snuck into the picture as he takes third from Suspiri. It's not going to last long for Brack, however, as Jim Richards goes to the inside, and now he takes the lead. Kenny Brack has been hung out to dry on the outside as Mario Andretti now moves to third, and we are seeing some great racing from these international stars. Kenny Brack is back at it again as he goes to the inside of Richards, and he takes the lead away. What a run he is having. "11 laps to go, and Arie Luyendyk has caught up to the lead and goes to the inside of Brack, but Brack is still hanging on. Luyendyk is going to try again with a push from Andretti, and he goes to the inside of Brack, and Arie Luyendyk takes the lead. 5 laps to go, and here comes Kenny Brack again. He will not quit. He gets to the inside of Luyendyk, and they're side by side with Mario Andretti behind them. What a performance by Kenny Brack, and now he's back to the lead. Andretti's now battling Luyendyk for second. Andretti definitely showing he has what it takes. 2 laps to go, and Andretti wasn't able to get past Luyendyk, and now here comes Jim Richards as he's going for that final transfer spot. And he gets it! Final lap for Kenny Brack, and behind him is Richards going for second from Luyendyk. And he gets it! Richards has a ton of speed, as well as he's quickly reeling in Kenny Brack. The 30-year-old trying to hang on in that 63 Petty Pontiac. Richards looking for some kind of space, but he doesn't have anything. To the checkers, it's going to be Kenny Brack from Sweden winning the International Invitational. What an impressive performance from the Swedish native. Jim Richards gets second, and Arie Luyendyk holds on to third from Salazar, so Brack, Richards, and Luyendyk will advance to the International All-Star. And before we get to racing, let's take a look at the starting lineup for the International All-Star for Atlanta 1996. Starting on the pole is Kyle Petty. Alongside him is Davey Allison. Dick Trickle had an impressive qualifying run. He'll start third. And Rob Moroso will start fourth. Rusty Walsh will start in fifth. And starting sixth is Tim Richmond. Terry Labonte of Joe Gibbs Racing will roll off in seventh. And Neil Bonnet next to him. He'll start eighth. Starting ninth is car number 9, Bill Elliott. And next to him is Eddie Bierschwell in the number 8. Darrell Waltrip will roll off 11th. And Ricky Rudd will start in 12th. Mark Martin will start 13th for Bud Moore's number 15, and Ken Schrader will start 14th. Starting 15th is Bubba Nissen, and next to him is Terry Schoonover. Patty Moyes will roll off in 17th, and 1995 Brickyard 400 winner Kenny Wallace will start 18th. Arie Luyendyk will roll off in 19th, and starting 20th is Jim Richards. Dale Earnhardt, driving a Special Olympics scheme, will start 21st, alongside International Invitational winner Kenny Brack. Greg Sachs will start in 23rd for his own team. Mark Thompson will start 24th. Alan Kowicki will start in 25th. And Jeff Gordon, also driving a Special Olympics scheme, will start 26th. Ernie Irvan will start 27th alongside his Junior Johnson teammate Sterling Marlin. And then rounding out the field are Ricky Craven in the 37 and Shauna Robinson in the 40. Shauna Robinson was your fan vote winner. And here we go. A race that has been 2 years in the making. Kyle Petty and Davey Allison come off turn 4 and to the start and finish line, and the International All-Star Race is underway from Atlanta, 1996. Petty gets a good start as he leads the first lap with Rob Moroso up to second. Into turn 3 as Moroso dips down to the inside of Kyle Petty, and he will take the lead. Now his teammate Neil Bonnet is working his way through as he enters the top 5. 3 wide for second between Bonnet, Petty, and Allison. Allison is hung out to dry as Bonnet has the advantage and moves to second. Now here comes Terry Labonte into the mix. He's looking for third and perhaps second too. Look at Terry Labonte. They have that car dialed in as he's side by side with Moroso for the lead. And as they head into turn 1, Terry Labonte is now out in front. Battle for the lead once again as Neil Bonnet in his swan song season is trying to go out winning NASCAR's biggest race yet. He's side by side with Terry Labonte as they go into turns 3 and 4. And Bonnet will clear Labonte, and here comes defending two-time champion Rusty Wallace into the mix. Wallace now jumps to second as Bonnet leads, and here they go into turn 1. Wallace may have the opportunity, and there he goes. Rusty Wallace now out to the lead here at Atlanta. Wallace has led for a while now, but now he's under fire from Terry Labonte, and the 1984 and 1987 champion takes the lead. However, Wallace is still hanging tough on that outside line, and he's not going to make this easy for Texas Terry. Final lap of the first segment, and it's all St. Louis, Missouri's Rusty Wallace out in front. He comes off turn 4 and will lead the field to the end of segment 1. Terry Labonte is second, Davey Allison third, Bubba Nissen fourth, and Mark Martin in fifth. Coming to the restart, that will take us to lap 60 in this race. Rusty Wallace still leads after pit stops. Terry Labonte is second, Bubba Nissen third, Patty Moyes is now up to fourth, and Davey Allison in fifth. Green flag in segment 2 is underway. Just one lap into this segment, and we have a lead change. Bubba Nissen takes the lead from Wallace. But look at this switch up here. Wallace back to the inside of Nissen now. Patty Moyes is there behind him as Wallace charges back to P1. And here comes Patty Moyes to the inside of Rusty Wallace, and she's going to complete the pass for the lead. Imagine if she could win a race as big as this. She's got some competition, however, from Neil Bonnet. Bonnet isn't able to complete the pass, and Moyes surges ahead as the leader. Again, imagine if she could win an all-star race as major as this. A race that is taking place where the entire world is watching here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Taking a look at some of our international guests, right now Arie Luyendyk has cracked inside the top 10, and he's on the move as he gets by Ricky Rudd for 6th. Jim Richards, however, is shown back in 23rd place, while Kenny Brack is in 26th with Kyle Petty behind him. Things have been pretty quiet since Moyes took the lead, as we're on the final lap of segment 2. Wallace is second, Moroso third, Terry Schoonover has worked his way into fourth. There must be something about him in this track, with Terry Labonte in fifth, as Patty Moyes will lead the field to the end of segment 2 here at Atlanta. And we'll have less than 15 laps to decide the winner of this race, as we're expecting everyone to come down pit road again. Leaders are on pit road now, as Mark Martin was literally in and out of his stall, and that could give him the lead. But did he have enough fuel is the question, and as the leaders are coming off pit road, we have issues for the 20 of Rob Moroso, a very slow pit stop for that Haviland Chevrolet, and he's finally away, but that will cost him a chance to win the International All-Star. Here we go, the final segment, just 12 laps to decide the winner. Mark Martin, who may have had the world's quickest pit stop, is the leader. Patty Moyes is second, Tim Richmond third, and Shauna Robinson is fourth, and Terry Labonte is fifth. As some of these guys decide to do a quick splash and go, we'll see how this plays out as the Pontiac pace car is down pit road, and the 1990 champion Mark Martin leads him back to the green flag with 12 laps remaining. And I will note that lapped car of Mark Thompson, he could play a factor, whether good or bad, for some of the leaders. Moyes moves to the outside, going into turn 3. Wait a second! Martin and Richmond died down to the apron! Did they not get enough fuel to make it to the end? That just might be what the case is. Wow! Drama here late in the International All-Star race. Davey Allison and Rob Moroso are heading to pit road 2, and for Moroso, his day goes from bad to worse. Meanwhile, Patty Moyes benefited the most from that situation, as now she has an almost 1 second lead over Terry Labonte. If Labonte can't catch her, this could be Moyes' race. With that being said, Dale Earnhardt has worked his way into the top 5, as the leaders are trying to work their way around the lap car of Mark Thompson, the 1993 All-Star winner. What a race this has been, and what a weekend it has been, as we are now at 2 laps to go for Patty Moyes, the first female superstar of NASCAR, and this certainly will be her biggest win yet. And imagine the headlines this is going to make in the sports world. Final lap for Patty Moyes of Sabco Racing. Terry Labonte is second, Ricky Rudd is third, but they are too far back. Down the backstretch for the final time, the sold-out crowd on their feet because they are about to witness history. Patty Moyes is going to do it. Coming off turn 4, Patty Moyes wins the International All-Star for Atlanta 1996. The female movement continues to grow strong in the world of NASCAR, and this might be the biggest one yet. For this one to be on the world stage. Let's take a look at your final results here, as Patty Moyes led 34 laps to win the International All-Star. Terry Labonte finishes in second, Ricky Rudd was third, Jeff Gordon fourth, Terry Schoonover fifth, Arie Luyendyk with an impressive run in sixth, Ernie Irvan seventh, Rusty Wallace eighth, Dale Earnhardt and Bubba Nissen round out the top 10. And here's a look at our final results here for the International All-Star Race. A race unlike any other, and certainly was a huge success. NASCAR also held its end-of-the-season international exhibition at Calder Park, where the top 15 in points were invited, as well as the Busch champ Chad Little, truck champion Jeff Bodine, as well as rising stars Kelly Earnhardt and Tammy Jo Kirk. Lastly, some of our international all-stars were invited to make another appearance, and 4 accepted. Kenny Brack is back, this time driving the actual 43 for Petty, as well as Jim Richards, Arie Luyendyk, and Glenn Seton. Neil Bonnet led for most of the way, but after the final round of green flag pit stops, Jeff Gordon had taken the lead. But he was held up by lap traffic long enough where Neil Bonnet had chased him down in the final handful of laps, as Bonnet made the move around Gordon with 3 laps to go, and what a way for him to go out, as Neil Bonnet took the victory at Calder Park. Even if he went through his retirement tour without a points win, it must be special for him to walk off the last time he steps in a Winston Cup car. He and Dale Earnhardt are gonna party hard in Melbourne tonight. And there you have it. The biggest season yet of Sunday Night Lights is in the books. While the story is nowhere near finished, reaching this point is special. It feels like a culmination of everything this series stands for. When I started the journey to rewrite racing history over 3 years ago, we started in 1981. And 16 seasons in, so much has changed. If we ever reach 2023, we'll have rewritten over half of NASCAR's entire history. This series goes beyond asking what ifs. It's a celebration of everything that makes our sport, seeing some heroes rise to even bigger heights and others who we've never heard of becoming heroes themselves. NASCAR is a beautiful, ever-changing sport. NASCAR transformed a lot from 1981 to 1996 in real life, and the same has happened in Sunday Night Lights. And from 1996 to the present day, our sport has continued to adapt, change, innovate, and transform. We've been doing it for 75 years and counting. In the Sunday Night Lights timeline, we're about to hit 50 years of stock car racing. With the amount of new faces taking over the sport in this timeline, time will tell just how big of heights NASCAR reaches in the 2000s and beyond. In both reality and fiction, one change can open the door to greatness. A domino effect can change the entire world in time. In Sunday Night Lights, we rewrite racing history. Yet there's many more timelines, what ifs, and ideas to explore in our sport. And maybe, just maybe, an idea will inspire people to bring real innovation and storytelling to push our sport forward. Let's celebrate what makes racing great in both its real and fictional forms, because speed reigns supreme. Everyone has a story to tell. For many, all they need is one more spark to put it out in the world. This is Gray Speed Productions. Thank you for watching my biggest video ever, and I can't wait for what's to come.